This is a book review of Erwin Schrödinger's What is Life? The physicist in this book attempts to explain biology. Erwin Schrödinger spent much of his life studying physics and the laws of physics, in particular quantum mechanics, but towards the latter part of his life became increasingly interested in biology. And this book represents his attempt to explain the phenomenon of biology, that is to say, things which seem to defy entropy. As he understands it, entropy and the second law of thermodynamics means that all things in the universe tend to disorder. They move from a state of high orderliness towards chaos or uniformity. But the phenomenon of life doesn't seem to follow this pattern. In contrast, it seems to move in the opposite direction. Over time, by way of evolution, things become more complex. And this is the approach he takes in trying to understand and explain the phenomenon of life. He looks at the atom and how atoms are highly unpredictable because they are subject to changes in energy states, which makes their motion and behaviour difficult to predict. But when atoms form ever more complex molecules, there is a chance that they can become more stable. And he puts forward the idea in this book that there must be what he terms an aperiodic crystal or an aperiodic solid, which is responsible for the hereditary aspect of self-replication. This book came out in 1948, about 2 decades before DNA was fully understood and discovered and wrote about by Watson and Crick. So in this book, Erwin Schrödinger is talking about a complex molecule which is the basis upon which propagation works. And so he talks about how this molecule needs to be stable, but also that it needs to also be subject to mutation, to change. And he talks about how these mutations can actually occur at the atomic level, thus giving rise to variation and differences when cellular meiosis takes place and the copying of the DNA takes place. There are a number of different varieties with slightly different codes of information. And this is the material upon which evolution works. And over time, the changes that are more conducive to the organism being able to reproduce, they will become more frequent in the gene pool, and over time we get speciation and ever more complicated entities. So it's a unique approach to biology in looking at things through the laws of physics and of energy changes taking place, and how living forms are fundamentally different from non-living forms. It was a highly interesting read, quite complex, but well worth taking the time to try to understand. Thank you for watching.